Welcome back to AM Northwest as we celebrate the Exploding Whale's 55th anniversary. In 1990, our next guest blasted new life into the Exploding Whale story with his Miami Herald column about the event, and he has been tied to the legend ever since. We welcome back to AM Northwest the one and only Dave Barry. Dave, how you doing?
Good, Helen. How are you doing?
Good. So when you first heard about the story, how did you find out about it? What did it take to do the story?
That was very easy for me. If there was ever a story that was made for somebody to write a humor column about, it was this one. I don't honestly remember. Somebody sent me a videotape of Paul Lindman and Doug Brazil's report, and I watched it and I thought, well, I've got to write about that because that's probably the best thing that ever happened in the history of the world. People need to know that.
It had all the elements of a good story, didn't it?
It was better. It was the thing. It's like the thing that you can is closest to it is fictional. It's the WKRP in Cincinnati episode.
Oh yes.
They throw the live turkeys out of the helicopter, and Les Nessman said, "As God is my witness, I thought." It's like that. Only it really did happen. In the case of the turkeys, somebody would have said, you can't do that. You can't drop live turkeys from a helicopter. And in case of the whale, nobody ever seemed to say, you shouldn't really put 1,000 pounds of dynamite under a dead rotting whale with people standing around, but they did.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful moment, and I'm glad nobody got hurt, and I'm sorry that Paul Lindman felt kind of tied to it for a long time, but I think he's accepted his fate now.
I think he has.
But I think it's wonderful still, and it brings so much joy to so many people.
Well, and when you did your story in 1990, some news organizations or some papers reported as if it had just happened. So it came back to life.
Yeah, it kind of, I'm really not sure to what extent I was responsible for this, but yes, it had almost, I think, gone out of his, if Paul Lindman is listening, he probably will come and kill me now for saying this, but it may be that, because I put it out there, people started watching it again, but it did, and people thought it was a new thing.
Right.
Because, why not?
Well, there were also people who thought it wasn't a true story, that it was a legend.
And it has been fictionalized since, like Reno 911, but I think other comedy troupes have figured out that it's pretty funny, but nobody could do it as well as they did it in the first one. Nobody will ever top what they did, in my view, and nobody will ever do a better story on it than Paul and Doug did.
Do you remember the fan mail you got after you did that story in 1990?
An enormous amount of fan mail, and a lot of it was not believing me because this was a little bit pre-internet, and you couldn't see it. Now you can just tell people, go look, it's real. I didn't make it up. But at the time, I was accused of making it up. But I'm not that funny. I'm not that smart.
First of all, yes, you are, Dave. You're very funny. You also wrote a Substack today too, right? That people can watch.
I observed the 55th anniversary of it, and a lot of people still respond. People still respond to this, unlike I don't think that they respond to anything the way they respond to the Exploding Whale.
Well, to hear that you can buy hats and T-shirts and go to a festival, that's all pretty cool.
I have an Exploding Whale shirt from the Eugene Emeralds.
Right. Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, I love that. Now, in your memoir, I've read your memoir, A Class Clown. I'm really upset with you because, you didn't include that story.
Oh, yeah, you're not the first person to mention that. And I guess I felt like I'd gone to the well too many times with that story. I've told it a million times. Here I am talking about it again. Maybe that's why Paul Lindman gets sick of it too. But I like, well, I don't want it to be just like me dredging up nothing but oldies but goodies. But now I wish I had done it. Thanks a lot for reminding me that I didn't.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know.
If you ever write a memoir, I promise that I will nitpick it as well.
Okay. So. Well, not to worry. That is not happening. Absolutely not happening. I don't know if Paul brought up the story about when you were on AM Northwest years ago after that article aired, and what is your impression? It looks like you remember that time.
I've heard him tell that a couple times. In fact, he and I have discussed that. I don't specifically remember that, but I can believe that it's true. I can believe, because if you write humor, which I did for many years, which I still do, you never know how people are going to respond to being talked about. And I didn't make fun of Paul. I mean,
No,
but still, I thought maybe this guy's sensitive about it. I wrote a humor column about it, a news thing he did, and I didn't know Paul then. I didn't know what a kind of a funny, good guy he is. So, I don't doubt that I was reserved because I was used to being like, castigated for having written things about people and then meeting those people.
I always wonder too, it was like, how did the eventual blubber, how did that all disappear? Did you find that out? Like
probably the same way. I am not a marine biologist, but I'm guessing the same way whales have disappeared for millions of years after they washed up. They just didn't have the Oregon State Highway Division on hand to, speed the process up with dynamite. But generally, things rot and go away in time. So
usually the seagulls. Although I think Paul mentioned that the smell probably deterred the seagulls as well.
We too, Helen, will eventually rot and go away. I'm just hoping. I'm going to put this on record right now. If the Oregon State Highway Division, after I'm dead, I'm going to stress I want to be dead before. If they want to come blow me up, count me in. I'm for it.
Then we want to thank you for celebrating the 55th anniversary of the exploding whale with us. Thank you so much. Great talking with you.
Same here, Helen. Nice to talk to you.
All right. And be sure to pick up Dave's book, Class Clown. It's hilarious, despite the fact that the whale story is not in there, despite that fact. Dave, good chatting with you. We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.